From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
You want to go where to buy a new refrigerator? Steve's A to Z Appliance in Cottonwood? In Cottonwood? Just a 10-minute drive. And they'll save us money. New and used, honest, reliable, factory-trained repair service and parts, and they'll save us money. And dispose of this thing? We gotta make the short drive to Steve's A to Z. Thanks, hon.
Steve's A to Z Appliance, front and main streets in Cottonwood. Drive a little, save a lot.
Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Boy, we got a lot to talk about. We've got the fires to talk about, latest what's going on with that. We've got to take a look at some much cooler air that's moving in, maybe some wet weather in the forecast. Can you believe this deep into July? So let's take a look at our weather headlines. Number one, we've got highs below normal all week long. This is that cooler air I've been talking about since last week. Here you can see those isolated mountain showers and thunderstorms here making their way in the forecast. And you know, the thing is, even this morning and afternoon, not out of the question for the valley to maybe see some activity. Highs climbing closer to normal by early next week. So it is going to get hotter, especially as we go into the second half of the weekend and early next week in particular, with no big heat waves in the forecast, even when our temperatures do begin to increase. So more on all of that in our deeper dive forecast in just a bit. But what do you say we take a look at our Krueger's Quickcast? For those of you that are in a hurry, you just want a quick look at the forecast. Here you go. All right, so you're waking up this morning. You're heading out the door. It's going to feel a little more muggy than you're used to. It's going to be cooler out there as well. And maybe, just maybe, even a passing sprinkle or a light shower for some of us as well. So what we see here is the clouds pushing on through. If you look closely, you see a bit of a counterclockwise spin in the atmosphere just to the north of us. That's the area of low pressure that is pushing through the Pacific Northwest. Now, the HRRR forecast model is showing that main boundary pushing through this morning. By the afternoon, it's actually picking up on a little bit of activity kind of coming in along that boundary late this afternoon, evening, pushing through maybe even parts of the valley. Now, is that out of the question? No, I don't think those chances are pretty high, but the chances are there nonetheless. And take a look at the highs for today. You're talking mid-80s on average for the valley, 70s and 80s for the mountains, and low to mid-60s for the coast. All right, we take a look at your 7-day forecast for the valley. Those temperatures are going to increase as we get towards the weekend, but probably closer to the low to mid-90s by Sunday, and then back up to closer to 100 degrees by early next week. But you get the idea, right? It is going to be much cooler this week. Now, you take a look at the coast. No big changes there, no big surprises. Inland, temperatures below normal, mainly dry. Now, look at Weaverville. Look at Trinity County. There's a better chance for showers and thunderstorms come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which we'll take a closer look at in our deeper dive here in just a bit. Siskiyou County, look at this. Alturas, a chance all week long through the weekend, but I think the best chances are we're going to hold off until Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but we can't rule out some activity this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and even Wednesday afternoon. But I think out towards places like Susanville, Eastern Mountains, those chances are going to hold off mainly until Thursday. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. We got a lot to talk about, right? But first, I want to remind you that you can watch Weather NorCal on your smart TV. You know, most TVs you buy these days are smart TVs now. You can connect them up to your home internet, and before you know it, you can watch YouTube and many other things. All right, so YouTube, I've got a YouTube channel. Just search for Weather NorCal, watch the 24-hour streaming channel there. You can also watch the latest video cast on your TV as well. Fire Stick, Roku, you got you covered there as well. So check it out. Search for Weather NorCal. All right, let's get into those fires here. This is sponsored by Garmin's Tractor Service as we look at all of this. So the main two fires, again, we're looking at are the Green Fire and the Butler Fire. Those are producing most of the smoke that we're seeing here. Let's take a look at the latest fire perimeter coming in from the Green Fire. As of 9:46 yesterday morning, it was reported at 19,021 acres at 51% containment. Really not a lot of recent activity coming out of that fire. Just wanted to show you some of the vicinity of where it is here, 3.5 miles from Ingot. We take you out towards places like Round Mountain, where it is 5.1 miles and 6.9 miles from Montgomery Creek. So it really hasn't moved much closer to these communities. The bigger fire, the fire of bigger concern, and has been creating a lot more concern for the folks down in the Forks of Salmon, is the Butler Fire. Now, as of 10:14 last night, it was reported at 16,493 acres at 6% containment. So we are seeing some more containment on this fire over the last 24 hours. A lot of evacuation orders, a lot of evacuation warnings. Know your zone, especially if you live or in this area. Let's take a closer look at the Forks of Salmon. You can see the fire perimeter, how it is really surrounding the community of Forks Salmon. It's in kind of, as you can see here, the river there, just kind of butting up against the river, but it did get on the east side of that river, and especially kind of over that mountain ridge top there as well. You see that thin line at the bottom of your screen, that's more of a fire operation, and that's where they're going to want to stop that fire as it does push southward into that line, hoping it will stop there. Taking a look at some of the latest heat signatures. Now, unfortunately, some of the latest data is not coming in, but this kind of gives you a general idea of where those heat signatures are. Meanwhile, on the west side of the fire, we take a look at it's about 4.8 miles from Orleans, but we really haven't seen much growth on this side of the fire, so we're not necessarily concerned about Orleans or even Soames Bar for that matter, but certainly worth watching as the fire is about 4.4 miles from Soames Bar. Red Fire hasn't changed much really over the last several days, up to 80% containment now with 116 acres as of July 18th actually. Take a look at the Summit Fire. As of 9:30, the 18th as well, 701 acres at 70% containment. Here you can see it is about 12.4 miles from Etna and about 15.7 miles from Fort Jones. Not necessarily concerned about these communities as well, but just to kind of give you a general idea. Now, most of the smoke this week and really today is going to be from the Butler Fire. We're not seeing much coming in from the Green Fire. And most of that smoke for today will mainly be in southwestern Siskiyou County and then pushing westward into Del Norte and northeastern Humboldt County later this tonight and into tomorrow morning. And then you can see it starts to kind of just settle on itself as we go midday on Tuesday, pushing a little bit more to the east on Tuesday afternoon. All right, that's the latest look at the fires here. I want to remind you that throughout the day, you can always check the latest on the fires at weathernorcal.com and click on the fire danger section. Let's take a look at the winds, and it's pretty typical. You see the winds are gusting upwards of around 20 to 25 miles per hour, but they die down as we go into Tuesday morning. But by Tuesday afternoon, they'll probably pick back up again, and that'll probably be the same case for Wednesday. Now, I'm not necessarily concerned about the winds at this point now because we're looking at cooler temperatures and higher humidity. Now, 20 to 25% is still low, but certainly not as low as we typically are. And it actually will probably feel a little bit more muggy than we're used to out there because of the higher humidity, cooler temperatures as a result too. And that will probably be the case going into your Wednesday as well. So the fire weather risk is dropping thanks to the cooler temperatures, the higher humidity, the wind's not a major factor either. So we look at the big picture here. We've got an area of low pressure spinning to our north. That's got the cooler, more mild air associated with it, but it's still very dry. But the driest air is actually now being pushed to our south. You can see that band of clouds pushing through is some of that moisture. But the thing is, it's been so dry, it's going to take a bit for us to really saturate the atmosphere for us to see most of that rain reach the ground. So a lot of what you see here on Futurecast may not even reach the ground, but there could be some sprinkles, a little bit of light shower activity, especially in the eastern mountains. Now, Futurecast isn't really picking up on that activity here for the valley later this evening and tonight, but we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with that. Then we go into your Tuesday, and there is a potential for some scattered shower and thunderstorm activity in Siskiyou and maybe Modoc County for tomorrow afternoon, and then maybe even until Wednesday afternoon. But I'm going to hold off until really Thursday, Friday, that I think across the board we're going to see that chance. Now, looking at the American forecast model, not as aggressive as the European forecast model. The European forecast model has a chance for thunderstorms for pretty much everyone in the mountains Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But if you look at the American forecast model that we're seeing here, it's not quite as aggressive with that solution, but I am going to include for all of the mountains Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. All right, now we switch gears. We're going to talk about the temperatures, the more mild air that's associated with this. Now that'll be shifting southward That mild air is still in place, and that's mainly keeping the heat to our west and to our east. As you can see, those bubbles of heat kind of on either side of us. That mild air stays in place. It keeps our temperatures in check, but then that starts to kind of move on out. We may start to see more of that heat coming in from the desert southwest, pushing to our region. But that's only going to bring our temperatures up closer to normal for this time of the year, which is about 100 degrees in the valley, upper 90s to about 100. So it will be much warmer as we go into next week, but all this week, temperatures about 10 degrees below normal. And again, keep in mind the normal high in the valley, upper 90s to about 100. Now notice that cooler air up to our north on July 28th towards the end of the month. I'm seeing signs that that is going to be migrating in our direction toward the end of the month in early August, which would mean cooler than normal temperatures. And you can see that looking at the long range here, cooler than normal. Look at the 10-day trend. Now, we are getting closer to normal as we do go into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but nothing unusual. No major heat waves are in the forecast. And, this just begs the question. A lot of people talk about it feels like it hasn't been that hot of a summer, and it really hasn't. Yes, we've been looking at some normal and even slightly above normal temperatures as indicated by the orange. This is looking at May, by the way. The only record-breaking temperature we saw was in May of May 30th. That was on a Friday with a high of 106 degrees, breaking that record. And we saw that heat wave, temperatures well over 100 degrees. But then we went into June and really looking at more of normal to just slightly above normal. I mean, a couple of stretches there where we did see 100 degrees plus, right? But look at those temperatures on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Low to mid 80s, and then it kind of climbed back up again. But no record-breaking temperatures in the month of June. So far in the month of July, we're kind of splitting it between normal and below normal here so far through yesterday. So far, yes, we can say it has been, for the most part, cooler than normal than we typically see for this time of the year. It's been a fairly mild summer so far. And as I look way in advance, as we saw that, we still have cooler than normal temperatures, most likely even going into August. Kind of crazy, right? Take a look at the wave heights. They are fairly low here for today. They're going to be fairly low here for tomorrow as well. So nothing major there as far as any small corrected visors, anything of that nature. We take a look at your marine forecast, a chance for some rain. Otherwise, winds from the northwest at about 5 knots. All right, let's take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Now, you see the lightning strikes in there. Don't be too terribly concerned about that, but there is that best potential Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Temperatures are going to be cooler. Take a look at the North Coast neighborhood forecast. Temperatures around 80 for Alder Point, 65 degrees in Blue Lake, 78 for Orleans, 83 for Willow Creek. Inland, I think you'll be mainly dry. If we start to see the chance for thunderstorms on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, certainly, but for now, I'm going to keep it mainly east of the North Coast. Siskiyou County, I've got a chance for you all the way through Saturday, but the best chances at this point do look to be Thursday, Friday, but we're going to have to watch this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and especially going into Thursday as well. For Modoc County, also that chance all week long. Best chances, they'll look to be toward the end of the week. Again, we're going to have to watch Tuesday and even Wednesday. Take you off to the eastern mountains. It's mainly going to be today and especially this morning, the best chances for showers. And then I do think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you'll also see that chance for showers, isolated showers and thunderstorms. For the valley, all right, you know what? I mean, this morning, even this afternoon, it is not out of the question for any of you to see a stray sprinkle, a light shower. I don't anticipate any thunderstorms, but it's mainly just going to be the partly to mostly cloudy skies today. Cooler. It's going to feel more muggy out there than you're used to as well. So just note that temperatures do increase a little bit here toward the end of the week. 87 for Redding today, 85 degrees for Red Bluff, Lakehead, Whiskeytown, about 82 degrees. We take a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding, and those temperatures, look at that, upper 80s today, tomorrow, low 90s, right around 90 to 92 for Wednesday through Saturday. Temperatures start to increase, but still not that bad on Sunday. It's really not until early next week that we're back up closer to normal, which is the upper 90s to about 100 degrees. All right, that's your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for your latest forecast. Have a great morning.